Muted. Muted. Muted.
14 today. Excuse me. So before starting, decided on any of the topics. Okay. I just wanted to ask few questions. Okay. I just wanted to ask few questions, and I wanted all of you to answer to those questions. Okay. Yeah. So how many of you have tried some practicals in the sense like whatever we have discussed? How many of you have been trying to program and trying to explore more on those things, whatever the topics till now we have discussed? Please let me know. This is very important because okay, good, okay, good. So let me take excuse me. Okay. I want all of you to answer because okay. So okay, okay. So seems like half of the people are trying to do, but what I want to ask is like, are you all facing any issues while working or while programming? What I'm asking is, so are you facing any issues like, say for example, you are trying some examples, okay? So are you facing any issues while trying those examples? Not online. When you are trying, uh, I mean to say like when you, say for example, we have covered something in our previous session, and we wanted to test those concepts using programs. Okay. So are you all facing any issues with those things when you are trying to whatever the concepts we have learned in class, right? Yeah, Pawan, I am not yet shared anything. I will share, Pawan. Okay. I will let you know. When I share, I will let you know. So what I was asking is, so are you all getting whatever the points that we are discussing? in the sessions or classes? Okay, cool, Hugh. Yeah, Hugh is telling, please correct me if I'm telling your name wrong. Okay, I'm telling Hugh. Is it correct, Hugh? Let me unmute you. Yeah, Hugh, yeah, am I spelling your name properly? Hugh? I'm unmuted you.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
You is correct. You is correct.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, so what Hugh is telling is he's trying to, he's trying his example and he's trying to solve all the issues taking help, by researching online. But Hugh, what my question was, what are the kind of issues that you are trying to solve online, which you are facing while programming?
Well, basically, I haven't run into any issue because I'm a software tester, so I develop test cases. So I would like to transition to development. That's why I'm still going through this class, but I
Okay,
haven't
cool.
run into any issue really.
Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah, you mentioned it, right? That's why I just wanted to ask. Yeah, thanks for your input, sir. Here.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. So my point was like, are you all following whatever has been discussing so far? Because okay, so I want to understand what are the issues that you are facing while programming, or whatever the concepts that we discuss, right? When you are trying to kind of like a program and trying to program and understand those concepts, or put those concepts into practical use. Okay, so yeah, Vipul has a question. Yeah, I have unmuted you, Vipul. You can ask your question. Can you post your question on chat, Vipul? Yeah, Vipul, do you have any question?
No question.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Okay, there seems to be some problem with GoToMeeting today. Not sure exactly. When I unmute myself, it is not unmuting. And just now Hari Krishna said like he can't hear me. But as soon as I saw, it was muted. Now I have unmuted again. But let's see. Okay, if you see any problem, please let me know. Okay, so I want to print integers I and j here. Okay, so what is the method that I use? I use system.println is the method, which is your output stream, which and system is a class which has a static variable out, which is of type. We will discuss all these things in detail. Okay, which is of type output stream. Okay, and then that has a method print line. Okay, that is the method that we will be using to print the values of I and j. So whatever we declare, we know, right? So if I'm fast, please let me know. But I want all of you to understand this practical session very well. Okay. I'm not sure whether I was too fast while discussing practicals. Okay. That's why I'm concentrating. I'm concentrating on this session for practicals alone. Okay. So whenever you say anything, okay, whenever you say anything within double quotes, that is a string in Java. That is a string in Java. Okay, anything within double quotes, anything within double quotes is string in Java. Okay, so what I want to do, I'm just for my this thing. What is that? My knowledge. I'm just telling like the values of I and j. Okay, values of I and j. This is for my reference. So when I print anything, so say for example, if you want to print I and j, okay, if you want to print I and j, you can just print I, okay, okay. So let us try printing this way, okay. So 10 and 20, it is saying 10 and 20 because I have put some space here. So otherwise it took it as addition operator, okay. So excuse me. So I'm just typing printing I and j, but I'm just printing it. Okay. So if someone sees this output, they'll not be able to see what are these 10 and 20. Okay. So that is why I'm saying values of I and j. This is for me or somebody else, someone else who is seeing the output, right? So for them, so values of I and j, 10 and 20. Okay. So do you see the importance of this one? So can you all see the importance of this one? So it is like values of I and j. That means I am printing the values of I and j. So that is why I keep writing this string, okay, for letting me know whether what I am trying to do. Okay. So this is just printing the. So there is another way, as we discussed in our previous session. I have declared int I and int j separately. So there is another way you can declare this way. here X and Y are of same type, integers. Okay, X and Y are of same type. X and Y are of same type, that is integers. It is similar to like you can float here. Okay, you can declare like that variables you can declare in a single line of same type. Okay, for example, if I want to declare a variable of test, I will do test A, B, C. Okay, what I'm doing, A, B, C are variables or objects of type test. Okay, so as we have discussed, whenever we create a class, we are declaring a data type. Okay, we will see about these classes in detail when we discuss about classes and what are all the properties associated with those classes. Okay, we will discuss in detail. So what exactly happens, how do you create an object, all those things. Okay, let us assume like these are like whenever we create a class, we are actually creating a data type, and that data type we can use it as our primitive data types like int, float, all those things. Okay, here if I am taking it as int, it doesn't mean that you have to only use int. We can use any data type that we have discussed so far, including the class data type or user defined data type that we have discussed. Okay, okay, so this is another thing. Okay, so now let us see so let us see how to actually take input from your keyboard and do some operations on those input. Okay, so now I have, let me comment these two things. As of now I don't want these two things. So I have int I and int X and Y. Okay, so now I want to read two integers. Yeah, correct, Hare Krishna. So he's telling us we can use scanner. Okay, so I want to read input from not only, yeah, as we discussed, our standard input is our keyboard. Okay, and standard output is our display. Okay, whatever we are displaying on the screen, right? That is our standard in this thing. What is that output? Okay. Okay, so here we have this thing. Standard input is represented by this one, system.in. We will try to understand all this. What are this dot? What is this in? What is this system and all? Okay, so let us try to let us try to simplify things and try to remember that system.in represents our keyboard and system.out represents our display console or wherever you are running. Okay, so that is your you can consider that as your system.out. Okay, so system.out, as I told, it's system is a class, out is an output stream. Okay, and print line is a method of output stream which is used to print out values to your screen. Similarly, system is a class, in is an input stream, okay, which is connected to your keyboard. Okay, so to accept data from keyboard, okay, to accept data from keyboard, what we can use is there is a built-in Java built-in class, okay, Java built-in class called scanner. Okay, Java built-in class called scanner. Okay, it is part of your java.util package scanner. Okay, I'll put it as input. So like we did for arrays, let us not get into too much detail of what exactly this new operator does with respect to your objects. Okay, so I am creating an object of type scanner. Okay, just try to remember this syntax. Okay, we will discuss all these things in detail in future classes. Okay, .in. Okay, so it is showing some error. Let me clear out all these things. These are not required. Okay, so it is showing error. So let us see what is that error. So it is showing scanner cannot be resolved into a type. Scanner cannot be resolved into a type. So whenever we say type, it is a data type. So it is telling the compiler is not able to not able to recognize this particular data type. Okay, now at this point in time, compiler is not able to recognize the type of scanner or scanner itself as a type. Okay, because if you see the syntax, right, we are saying like data type and some variable and then initializing an object of data type. This is the object of scanner. Okay, so it has to be a data type. That's why it is telling like I am not able to. You have used scanner as a data type, but I am not able to resolve it into a data type. So what we can do is right click on this, or just right click on it, or you can import, or you can just place on it. It gives you these things. What is the some suggestions? What needs to be done? It clearly says here. I hope all of you are able to see my screen. Okay, here at this point it clearly shows import scanner from which package java.util. Okay, import scanner java.util. Okay, so when I do that one, it automatically imports a particular class. Okay, particular class. Okay, so what we are doing here, scanner is a built-in class, Java built-in class. So we are trying to use that scanner. Scanner has a lot of other lot of methods which we will see. Okay, so what it does is like we can attach the scanner to any string, not only for our keyboard. It can be any input stream. Okay, so it can be attached to any of the input streams. There are various input streams that we will discuss later. Okay, so I don't want to kind of like mess up everything in while we are learning basics. Okay, that's why I'm taking it a little slow, so that all of you understand, grasp and digest whatever we are discussing. The basics are very important. Okay, that is it. So what we are doing here is, what we are telling, import this class, scanner class, from this package java.util.scanner. Okay, so java.util.scanner. So what it says, like it java util scanner. So there should be in the class path. Okay, we have seen how to set a class path and path, right? So class path comes into picture in these cases. Okay, so what class path does is, this particular scanner should be within in the class path of your environment, Java environment. Okay, so when this class is in class path, it has to be in this path. Okay, that is if you say that as Unix, Java. Okay, so there should be a folder with name Java, and then folder with name util, and then inside util you should have this particular class. So since it is a built-in Java class, if at all you get this one, right, if at all you get the class, or if you want to see what has been written in this particular scanner, you will not be able to see the source code of this. Probably you might download the JDK source code itself. I'm not sure, I haven't observed that one. You may have that one. You can download the source code itself and you can see what has been written in this particular class, that is scanner class. Or if you can't get the source code from Oracle site, what you can do is you can use plugin. Okay, the plugin is the decompilers. What do we call it? Call it as decompilers. Okay, you can use decompiler. What it does is, decompiler, what it does is, it reads .class files, not Java files. Okay, .class files, and it gives the code for that particular .class file. Okay, decompiler. Okay, so I'm working on one just for your information. I'm working on one particular issue right now. Okay, so what is the issue is there is a particular product. Okay, So we are facing some issues, but the thing is we are using a particular well-known product for some operation. Okay, say I send some request and I have to get the response. Okay, I have to get the response. But what is happening inside the tool, I'm not sure. Okay, to understand the understand what exactly is happening in the particular tool, right? What we are doing is we call some methods, or we are actually what we are discussing is methods, right? So we call some method and then send some request to some server. Okay, and while getting the response, we are facing the issues. Okay, but we are calling the method of the product itself. The product, when you see a product or when you install a product, you can see class files in that. The class files of the particular product, but you will not be able to see the code. Okay, so if you want to see the code, what you can do, you can install a decompiler, or you can use plugin, Eclipse plugin, Java decompiler plugin, and try to decompile the class file and see the code. Just it won't be the same as the product, how the actual class has been written, but you'll get the picture, like what exactly has been, what are the logics that are being used. Okay, that way you can understand how the class has been written. Okay, if you see any issues with those things. Okay, so just for your information I'm telling. Okay, let us remove this part, and then so we are using this particular scanner, so we have to import this particular class in our class. Okay, so what exactly is happening, we are using this particular class, so whatever the methods, whatever the variables that are declared in this particular scanner class, we can access it now. Okay, so we are, in order to use that class which is not there in our package, this is our package. Okay, this is our package. We don't see any class by name scanner. That is why this class is not able to identify what is scanner. So we have to import that particular class in our current class. Okay, so now we can use this scanner. So what I have done is I have attached this to the standard input. Okay, by passing. Okay, so I don't want to discuss too much about this. Just remember this syntax. Okay, you can give anything to this. Okay, input. You can, that's a variable name. Okay, it's an identifier, just an identifier. Okay, you can give it any name, or whatever the name you want. So I gave it input because I'm giving some input from my keyboard. That's it. That's why I gave it as input. Okay, so now what is happening? This class is attached to your keyboard. Means whatever you type on your keyboard, this scanner scans and it takes it as an input. Okay, and you can get the value using appropriate methods in this particular class. So just on a high level, whenever you declare a class, class will have two things. One is your instance variable and then methods. Okay, instance variables are just like normal variables, wherever you declare here, right? These are your local variables because this is within your scope, this method scope. These are local variables, but instance variables you declare usually here. Okay, so say for example, index. Oh, sorry. Let us say. Okay, instance variable. So this is where we usually declare instance variable. We'll see the importance of instance variables in our class session. Okay. So now what I have done, I have created an object of scanner and I have attached that to the input keyboard. Okay. So now what I can do, I can use the methods. So we will be having methods and then variables, right, in a class, whatever the class that we declare. In here, test is a class, instance variable is an instance variable, and main is a method inside this particular test class. Okay, main is a method in this test class. Test is a class, instance variable is an instance variable. This is what I have named. Okay, it's of type int. Okay, and then public static void main is a method. So within this class, we have one instance variable and one method. Okay. Similarly, this is scanner is a class. It will have variables, instance variables, and then methods. Okay. So using the methods within instance or scanner class, we can get the appropriate values that we type on in our keyboard. Okay. So here, what I'm trying to do is, I want to read two values from keyboard. Okay. To read two values from keyboard of type integer. Okay. Read two values from keyboard of type integer. Okay. So what I will do, and assign those values to X and Y and try to print it. Okay. So what I can do, yeah, Hari, can you tell me? You can just, okay, I'll unmute you. You can tell me what we can do. Yeah, Hari, you can tell me what we can do.
We have to give input from the keyboards by using like a system.out.println.
No. What I'm telling is, I want to read it from a keyboard. What I can do?
Yeah. Actually, you can give like input dot system.in. Sorry,
So
I'm unable to get it. Yeah.
Okay, so next int. Okay, that's fine. No worries.
Yeah.
No worries. Okay, no worries. So what we are doing here is, this is a scanner object. I am calling dot is used for accessing any member of a class. Okay, for example, say for example, as I told, classes will have instance variables and methods. Okay, so any member of a class, or you can say any public member of a class, or there are other access specifiers as we discussed briefly in one of our sessions. Okay, so let us assume public classes and public instance variables as of now. So in order to access any public members of a class, here member means it can be an instance variable or methods or both. Okay, any public members of a class, you use dot on an object of a class. Okay. Yes, correct. Kavita is telling, we have to tell the user to enter values. Exactly. Okay. So we will do that, Kavita. Exactly. That's a good input. Yeah. Thanks. Okay. So what we are doing is, we are trying to assign. We have X and Y variables. So my requirement is, I have to read data from keyboard that is of type integer. Okay, that is of type integer, and assign that value into X and Y. Okay, X and Y. Assign the values that I read from my keyboard in X and Y. Okay, so let us try to do that one first. Yeah, Kavita told we need to let the user to know that what we are trying to do. Okay, let us try to do out.println or println. Please let us okay, so what I'm doing, I'm just saying the say assume like this is the scenario what we are trying to do here. Okay, say for example, I have written this code. Okay, and somebody else is running this code. Okay, somebody else is running this code. Yeah, I'll come to you, Pragati. Pragati has a question. I'll come to you, Pragati. Let me finish this. Okay. So I have written this code and someone else is running this particular code. Okay. So this is usually a scenario. Somebody else is running this code, and so this is the code. so assume that he is like say we don't have this particular statement. So okay, we don't have this one. So what exactly happens is when you run this code, it just what it is doing is it just prints I and j, and if you notice here at this particular point, right, it is still running. Okay, it has not, the program is still running. It has not terminated, or it did not complete the whole thing. Okay, why this is still running? It is kind of like a waiting for user input. Okay, it is waiting for user input. Okay, so it is the program has not terminated, but it is waiting for user input. But with this, without this particular statement, right, the user will not be able to know whether what is expected. The user is here. The user is the person who is executing this particular program. Okay, who is executing this particular program is the user. So he'll not know what exactly is happening. The system is kind of like not terminated, but it's still hung kind of situation. He'll think, okay, something is wrong. I'm not able to recognize what needs to be done. Okay, in such scenarios, what we do, we will give ample system.out.println to understand what exactly is happening. Okay, now what is what happens? So after printing I and j, it is asking, please enter an integer value. Okay, what I will do, I will enter 10. Okay, as soon as I enter 10, it is terminated. You can see that here. That red square was earlier the square was red. Now if you hover over it, it will say terminate. Okay, it will terminate. It is terminated. Okay, so the moment you type the integer value, this particular statement gets executed. Okay, this particular statement gets executed, and it prints whatever we have typed, the integer value here. Okay, whatever the integer value we type, that is printed here. So if we comment out this, nothing will happen. Okay, nothing will happen. So enter a value 10. I have entered. What happened? Okay, sorry, not this one. Okay, let us comment this and then put this here. Okay. Okay, it says enter an integer. So nothing, it does nothing because we are not doing anything with this particular value. What I am doing is, so you clearly see this, right? So what this statement is telling is, please enter an integer. Okay, please enter an integer. So what exactly happens? See here, the program is still running, it's not terminated. So this statement says it is still waiting. This particular statement, next int, means it is waiting for an integer to to be typed from your keyboard, integer to be entered from your keyboard, so that it can read that from keyboard and do whatever you want to do. Okay, whatever you want to do, you can do it with that value, whatever the value that you type from your keyboard, that will be taken by this particular object using this method. Okay, so let me put this. Okay, so dot operator, why do we use? We use it to access public members of a class. Okay, that's why I made this as a public member. Okay, so within this code you can access it, but that's what. Okay, so so what this particular thing does is, next stint is, it will wait for this at this particular statement. At this particular statement, it keeps waiting for an input to be provided from your keyboard. Okay, that is your integer value. So this is waiting for your integer value. For example, if you want to enter a float, if you want to enter a string or something like that, you have appropriate methods. Okay, for example, input dot. If you say dot, it shows whatever the things that are available, okay, or whatever the methods are variables or whatever the members of the class, right? They are listed out here. In your Eclipse, you can see. You have a method called hasNext, use delimiter, next line, close, has next int, has next line, next int, delimiter, equals, find in line with different parameters. Okay, all these things. These are all the methods which you can use in a particular class. Okay, this particular window shows the available methods and other members of a class. Okay, here we are talking about scanner class. Okay, these are all the methods of public methods of your scanner class. So you can see next float, next double, next byte with different things. Okay, next big integer, all these things, next long, next short. Okay, all those things are there. Okay, we are using only int here because we want to read two integers and assign it to x and y. Okay, so at this point it is waiting for an input. Okay, the moment I enter input, it accepts it and it does nothing. Okay, see here this red the terminate button. Okay, so see here, it is when it is run when it is red, it means like it is the program is still running, it is not terminated. Okay, it did not complete. Okay, so now after entering 10, this is the program completes, and then nothing happens. We are not doing anything with the value that we have entered here, right? Whatever the value that we have entered. What we can do, we are reading integer, so we can assign this integer to one of the integer variables that we declared. Okay, then what we can do is, for our information, what we can do is, okay, now what it does, let's see. Okay, it is asking for an integer to be entered, so that value is assigned to x. Okay, this is our integer value. Okay, so what is the value that is assigned to x? Whatever the value that we entered from our keyboard. So what is the value that we entered from our keyboard? 10. That is shown in your that is shown in green. Okay, so another time I want to run, if I want to run, I will say 20. Okay, so whatever the value that you enter, that value is displayed here. Okay, so I felt that this is important. This session is important. That's why I'm taking this session. Okay, so so now I can use the same this one again. Okay, enter. Okay, yeah, this give me a second. Yeah, I forgot to answer. So let me finish this. Okay, I will enter values of 10. Okay, value of y 20. Okay, so 10 and 20. I am storing it. Whatever the values that I am entering, right? I am entering in x and y, or I am storing it in x and y and displaying it appropriately. Okay. So there is one important thing with respect to any streams that we use. Okay, so if you see here, it is showing some warning. Okay, it is showing some warning. If you keep your if you point your mouse on that or hover on that particular variable, it says resource leak. Input is never closed. Okay, resource leak. Input is never closed. So whatever we are doing, we are connecting the particular stream. Okay, these are all kind of like a bit complicated things. We will see these things when we discuss IO, input output things. Okay, streams. Okay, so whenever we open a stream, we need to close it. Okay, so what we can do, there is a method called close dot close. Okay, this will close your stream, input stream. Okay, now you won't see any warnings here. You don't see any warnings here. Okay, this is how you do it. Okay, so let me take up Pragati's question and then I will come to Atif. Okay, Pragati is asking, do we have to use this type of code while creating some form? Yeah, I think Pragati. Okay, let me. Okay, this is the question Pragati is asking. And another question she is asking is, in which user can enter their data? In which user can enter data? That's what the use of this code. So she is asking the doubt. Okay, so you are thinking to Pragati. I'm answering to Pragati right now. So Pragati, this is related to just Java program. We are not at all discussing about web applications. Okay, we are not discussing about web applications. I guess you are asking the same thing. Form means it is web form you are telling, right? So that is what I understood. So let me know if my understanding is wrong. Yeah, I have unmuted you. That is what my understanding. If it is wrong, please let me know, Pragati. I have unmuted you. Yeah. So what I understood was like, okay. So my understanding is correct. So we are discussing only about core Java now. Okay. So like web forms and all will come into your when you discuss about when we discuss about web applications. Okay. We are not talking about web applications at all. Okay, these are all normal Java applications. Okay, here also, like if you remember, I was telling like one of the application I'm working, right? In those things, in that also, you can see similar kind of statements. Okay, saying like asking user to enter. If you don't enter any values, it will say, okay, this is how you have to use this particular program, and then these are the inputs which it is expecting. Okay, that is why that is not the program that or application that I am discussing, right? That is not a web application. Web application, you use other technologies like HTML, CSS, whatnot. Okay, there you are using those things. You use you create your web form and input whatever the input you give with your keyboard. That is totally different than what we are discussing here. Okay, here we are exclusively using this particular scanner. We are connecting to our input stream. Okay, and then it scans your keyboard. That is why it is called scanner. It scans your keyboard, and then whatever the method that it reads, whatever you type on that particular keyboard, right? It reads it. Okay, you can try all those things. It reads it, and then we want only integer. That's why we are trying to read integers only. You can experiment or you can try different things. When you try next int and type some string, what happens? When you type some characters, what happens? When you type some float, what happens? All those things you can try. Okay, I want all of you to try these things. Okay, so here don't stick to whatever we discuss in our sessions. Okay, you have to try more and more. Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm taking two inputs and then I'm trying to display those things. Okay, 10, 20, 29, whatever it is. Okay, so what I can do with these things? Okay, I can do so many things. Simple thing, what I can do, what I can think of is Are you able to see all these things? 10 and 20, it gives result 30. Okay. So let me take up, before explaining, let me take up Atif's question. Yeah, Atif, I have unmuted you. You can ask your question.
Yeah, so my question is that if we enter the value for the integer, so if you,
Okay.
with x you took one integer and with y we have another integer, so this scanner method is being used again, so we don't have,
Correct, exactly.
so we for the next int we are only passing the integer. So what if we pass a string value? What will happen?
Yeah, that is what I want you to try. Okay, all of you have to try. Okay, so here I am using only one integer, and also observe what I'm telling is what I'm doing here is just entering only one value here. Okay, I'm just entering only one value here. Okay, so what happens if I enter 10 space 20 space 30 space 40? Okay, so you try those things. Okay, all of you, I'm telling to all of you. Okay, you try all those things. I just want to keep these things very simple. Okay, that is why I'm just giving these things. So what nextInt does is, you can, whatever the integer that you read, you read it and put it in x. Okay, let me try to run this and see what exactly happens if I try to say some string. What exactly happens? Okay, input mismatch exception. Obviously, it will be input mismatch exception. Internally, what exactly is happening is some passing of whatever the data that you input, right? That happens. Okay, so we are using integer nextInt method. Okay, so what this nextInt method says is, read integers. Okay, if I tell you are not reading an integer, say for example, it accepts your float also, but it truncates. We have discussed what is truncation, right? But when you input something which is incompatible type, right? Say for example, string here, so it gives some exception. The code would have been, our code is written in such a way that code for this next method. Okay, I'm talking about code for this next method is written in such a way that it is whatever the data that you input from your keyboard, it has to be an integer, because we are using nextInt, next available int. Okay, nextInt. Okay, so it is expecting an integer. If it is not an integer, obviously it will throw, or it will do necessary processing and then display your value. For example, let us try. Okay, next integer. Okay, 12.9. So here also it is giving an exception. So it is expecting only integer, nothing else. Okay, so I thought this will truncate it, but it is not truncating. Okay, so it is not at all accepting any other data type except your integer. Okay, so we have to give integer. That's why I mentioned integer here. Okay, you can't enter any other thing. If you want to enter some string, we will see that one in next example. Or if I can continue with the same thing. Okay, there is a method called the next line. Okay, there is a method called next line where you can enter your integer. Okay, and there are different methods. I told you, right? Say for example, I don't know whether you all can see whatever the methods that I am seeing here. Can you all see this? Whatever I am showing here. Okay, these are all methods that you can see. Okay, this is next line. Okay, so this is a return type. It has next boolean. Okay, has next line. Okay, so all these things, use delimiter is there. Okay, delimiter pattern you can give. So, okay, next int and find in line. Okay, all these things are there. So in one of the sessions I have shown you the online this one, what is that, API reference. Okay, online API reference of JDK. Okay, so let me show that. Okay, this is your online reference. I hope all of you can see this one. Okay, this is very, very important. Okay, Java has millions and billions of classes. Each class will have some methods. Okay, so if you consider millions and millions of methods will be there, millions and millions of classes will be there. Okay, so if you want to refer, you can't read and remember everything. So this is the best way to always keep this particular URL bookmarked. Okay, so whenever you want to refer some class, like all these things you will understand when you refer when we take up class session, right? One particular what is a class and discuss about classes, right? Then all these things make sense. Okay, so we are talking about java.util package. Okay, let us go to java.util package. Okay, java.util package is this one. So this is java.util package. I'll click on this. Okay, in this java.util package we will have a class. You can see in that particular package interfaces, we will see what are these interfaces. Okay, and then we have classes. Okay, so in that classes, one of the classes are scanner. Okay, okay, can you all see now? At least can you all see now? Okay, scanner is a class. It gives all the details related to this particular scanner. Okay, we will see all these things. Fine, what is the final? What does that mean? All these things we will see. Okay, so it says it's a simple text scanner which can pass primitive types and strings using regular expressions. Okay, so here also they have given how to use that scanner, and they have used next int. Okay, so apart from that, if you scroll down, so you'll see number syntax, all those things it will give. Okay, there will be different sections. One is constructor summary and method summary. Okay, so in method summary, you will see all the methods that are accessible to the object of an object of scanner. Okay, so all these things here. If you take one of the example, so what it says is modifier and type. Okay, this is the return type of a method. This is the name of the method and what it does. It gives brief description of that particular method. Okay, close is the scanner. Okay, it is always preferable. Okay, I mean it's always recommended to close or open scanner. It should always be closed. Otherwise, as we saw, it will give some warnings. Okay, it is like it shows memory leaks. Okay, once you open or once you open a screen to some resource, for example, your system.out, right? It is connected to your display, and system.in, it is connected to your keyboard. So some resources are used in the sense like some memory is used for such when you open or when you open like streams. Okay, so if you if you don't close them, it's a memory leak. It is called as memory leak. You are using a memory which is not utilized at all after you come out of that particular program scanner, right? So that is called memory leak. So always to reclaim that particular memory which is being used by scanner in our current context or whatever the topics that we are discussing, we will close it. Then what happens? So when you close that, the memory which is occupied by the scanner, right, that will be deallocated and it will be available for some other purpose. Okay, it will be available for some other purpose. That's about this one. Okay, so now let us take one example. So which one of the participants was trying. Okay, let us try to add n numbers. Okay, so adding n numbers. So what I will do, adding n numbers. How many numbers? I'm just asking the user who's running. How many numbers do you want to? How many numbers do you want to add? Okay. How many numbers do you want to be entered to be added, or how many numbers do you want to be added? How many numbers? Here I'm talking about the numbers. Okay. I say let's say input is equal to new scanner of in, and I will import the class. Okay, so what it is, I will declare one more integer num of initially. So remember camel cases, right? So here it starts with, this is a variable, that's why it starts with small case variable here. Starts with small case letter. Here we are starting with the uppercase. Okay, it is better always to stick to these things. So camel case, start with the uppercase, start with the lowercase letter. Okay, so each word, separate word is starting with uppercase letters. It is always, as we are starting, right, it is better to get used to this one from the beginning itself. Okay, that becomes the second nature as we continue to use that. Okay, so what I will do, next int. So number of elements to be added. So number of numbers to be added. Okay, that I have stored it there. Okay, so now what I will do, I will use for loop. We know how the for loop works, right? So what it does, it will loops through a set of statements, a block of statements. Separate, we put within curly braces, right? Block of statements. It loops block of statements, or it executes a block of statements for certain number of times. Okay, it loops block of statements for a certain number of times. That is what is your looping. Okay, what I will do, I have taken that number of elements to be added, or that is the number of elements or numbers that you need to add. Okay, so what I will do now, I have taken that. Let us take integers only. Okay, let us do this way. Enter. We are considering only integers here. So you try with other data types. Okay, float, what not. Okay, so enter. I'm assuming all of you are following whatever I am typing here. Okay, whatever I am trying here. If you don't understand, please let me know so that we can clarify all your doubts. Okay, that is the main intention. Okay, so whenever I say enter, this is a string. So we are trying to output it to our standard output. Okay, and this is a string, and this is as you know, even if one of the operand is string, everything will become string. Okay, the respective value will get the respective value, and then that value gets converted into a string. Okay, here we are referring to the value that is number of elements. Okay, enter integers. Add it. Okay, so what I will do, say for example, how many numbers to be added? I will say 10 numbers or 5 numbers. I have 2 numbers or whatever the number you want to write. Okay, so say for example, I want to add 100 numbers. I want to add 100 numbers. Okay, when I'm running, it asks for how many numbers to be added. I'll say 100 numbers. Okay, so how can you access 100 numbers? Every time you have to write next int. With our last example, input next int, input dot next int, input dot next int, input dot next int. 100 times you have to use. Okay, so we know how to avoid that particular scenario, right? We know how to avoid that particular scenario. Okay, let us try to close this because it is showing warning. So let us close it. Okay, so how to do that one? So I told if you want to repeat a set of statements n number of times, you can use the loops. So for is what we have discussed so far. Okay, for loop is the one which we have discussed so far, right? So let us use that to our advantage. Okay, so what I will do, I will use what I'm saying here. Enter. I'm telling the user to enter number of elements to be added, number of integers to be added. Okay, number of integers to be added. Number of integers to be added. I'll use for loop. For. Okay, I'll use a counter 0. Okay, and I less than. Since I have used 0, it should be less than. Okay, it should be less than this element. Okay, and I plus plus. So whatever the block of code, whatever the code that I need to, whatever the code that I need to put it here, right? Or I want to execute so many number of times, I'll put it here. Okay, I'll put it here within this block of code. Flower brackets, right? Open and close flower brackets is nothing but our block of code. Okay, so assume that I want to sum whatever the number I want to. I have entered in my this thing. What is that? Sum is equal to 0. Okay, now what I'm doing. So this is very important. Okay, this particular part is very important. So let me try to explain this again. So what this for loop does is it has 3 things. Okay, so let me write that syntax. Just a kind of like a refresher or refreshing this for. This is block of code that you write. Okay, block of statements. Executed. Okay, so here initialization and then condition and then your test condition for your counter. Okay, not test condition, it is like increment or decrementing your counter. Incrementing or decrementing your counter. Okay, so initialize, what you do, you just initialize one particular counter. Okay, this condition, or you can say this is test condition. Okay, this test condition has to be a relational expression. Okay, we can use relational operators that we discussed in our previous class. Relational operators. Okay, like your less than symbol, greater than symbol, equal to symbol, whatever it is. Okay, so we are using less than symbol here. Okay, we are using less than symbol here. Okay, so this is a test condition, and then we can use increment or decrementing. Okay, increment, we have seen in our last class, we are incrementing this. What this does is I is equal to I plus 1. So it increments 1, increments a particular variable on which you are using to 1. Okay, so what it does is this, how this for loop gets executed is, first this particular statement is initialized, the variable that you declare, right, that is initialized. Note that we are declaring a variable inside this parenthesis. Okay, so when you see that this is you're declaring an integer here, you should not get confused with some other statement. Okay, say for example, if you say this int I is equal to 10, like that. Okay, you should not get confused with these things. Okay, so this is not allowed at all. Okay, so you can't declare a variable within this parenthesis that follows your if statement. Okay, if statement, this, so you can't use this particular syntax everywhere. Okay, this is the syntax for your for loop. Okay, this is the syntax for your for loop. So syntax for if will be different. Okay, your Boolean expression. So there are some conditions for this Boolean expression. If I have confused you in previous sessions, I'm extremely sorry, but this is what we have to stick, okay, to. So we have declared you can do this way also. Say for example, int I is equal to 0. Okay, int I is equal to 0, and you do not have to kind of like specify here. So all these things, right? All these conditions we will say in our when we discuss about control statements. After arithmetic after operators, the next chapter or next topic we will be discussing is control statements. All these things we will discuss in our control statements. Okay. So let us not waste our time here. So this is int I is equal to 0. We have declared here. Okay. Here, this is very important condition. You have to understand what exactly is happening here. Okay. What exactly is happening here is this particular statement is very, very important. Okay. You are testing the counter. Okay. You are testing the counter. You have to use relational operator. Okay. You have to use relational operator. So this loop, right? This is a loop. Okay. So if you don't give proper condition here, test condition here, so what can happen is there are multiple scenarios. Say if you don't give proper condition here, this loop can execute infinite times. That means your program will not terminate at all. Okay, your program will not terminate at all. It will continue. It goes on running infinite time. If you leave it, it will run years together. Okay, so that is why this particular condition becomes very, very important. The other opposite condition is if this condition is not proper, whatever you are expecting to execute within this particular loop, right, within this particular block, may not get executed at all. Okay? There are those kinds of situations. So whenever we give this particular situation, we need to think what exactly we need, and based on that one, we need to write this expression. Okay, this is a Boolean expression. It should be either true or false. Okay, so the main thing with these loops is any loop for that matter. You know the meaning of loop in the general English, right? It loops. Okay, you go on and do the same thing again and again until you come out of that particular loop. Okay, so here also the meaning is same. Okay, this is a for loop. It executes a set of statements, whatever you specify within this block. Okay, set of statements n number of times. That depends on this particular condition. Okay, n number of times based on this particular condition. What it does, it initializes and then it checks this condition whether that is true or false. If it is true, it enters here and then executes. Okay, and then it increments, and then again this particular test condition is tested. Okay, if it is true, loop is entered, again incremented, tested, loop is entered or not entered based on your test condition. Okay, this loop continues, or this gets executed, for loop gets executed as long as this particular condition or test condition is true. Okay, this particular test condition is true. The moment this test condition becomes false, you will be out of this loop. That means the statement immediately after the for loop gets executed, or you can say the statements, the program flow continues to the next statement after the for loop. Whatever the for loop after the statement, whatever the statement that you have provided or mentioned in after the for loop, that gets executed the moment this condition becomes false. Okay, that means you are coming out of this for loop. Okay. Okay, so now what I'm doing, so I am entering how many numbers to be added, and I'll enter all the numbers. Okay, so I have sum here, that's an integer. Okay, I have sum here, this is an integer. I have initialized it with 0. So number of elements to be added is also an int, initialized to 0. Number of sum is also an integer, that is also initialized to 0. Okay, so this you can write it as, I mean, as I've showed, separate statements. Int number of added to be 0, int sum is equal to 0. That also you can do it. Okay, and so what I'm doing inside this for loop, what I will do, sum plus equals next int. Okay, so what is this? What does this do? Sum is equal to sum plus dot int. Okay, so I'm explaining this simple program so that all of you understand. Okay, I think somebody is asking a question. Okay, Pragati is asking increment. So what is that question, Pragati? Let me unmute you. Yeah, Pragati, what is your question? You have put like increment question mark. What does that mean? Do you want to ask any do you have any question, Pragati? Okay, she doesn't have a, okay, fine. So what we are doing, we are, this is similar to like a sum plus equals input dot next int is nothing but your sum is equal to sum plus input dot next int. So input dot next int is whatever the value that we are entering. Okay, so what it does is, say for example, I have given 5 numbers to be added. Okay, so this expression will become for int I is equal to 0, I less than 5. Okay, and I plus plus. So let us forget about that. Okay, so what exactly is happening here is I is initialized to 0. Okay, then 0, we are with this condition, what we are doing is 0. We are asking you a question: is 0 less than 5? Is 0 less than 5? Yes, of course, 0 is less than 5. That is true. That means true. Yes. Is 0 less than 5? I'm asking you a question. Is 0 less than 5? Yes. Yes means that is true. So I enter this loop. Okay. So next int, it will ask for an input, and whatever the input that I give, that will be added to sum. Initially sum is what? 0. So if I give 10, sum will be 10. Okay. So since this was true, it again increments this I plus plus. Okay, variable. Now I will become 1. Okay, I will become 1. So now again this condition gets statement gets executed. That is your test condition. So again, what we are asking is 1 less than 5. Yes, the condition is true. Okay, so what exactly happens now? Again, this next int will ask for an input to be entered. Okay, and then it will be added to sum. Okay, so sum was 10 earlier. Now it becomes whatever the so whatever the value that we entered plus whatever was there earlier, that is 10. Okay, 10. Say for example, I entered 20. Okay, so 10 plus 20, it becomes 30. 30 is again stored in sum, variable sum. Okay, now what happens? Third time. So this will get incremented. So I will become 2. I'm again asking, is 2 less than 5? Yes. So I will enter 30. So now sum will become 60. Okay, now again this will become 3. Is 3 less than 5? Is 3 less than 5? Yes. Then is 4 less than 5? Yes. Is 5 less than 5? No. 5 is not less than 5. It is equal to 5. Okay, when as soon as I becomes 5, this condition becomes false. Okay, as soon as I becomes 5, this condition becomes false. Then at that time, we will be out of this loop. Okay, we'll be out of this loop. As long as this particular condition, whatever the condition that you give is true, the set of statements that you specify within this block will get executed. Okay, as soon as the condition becomes false, we will be out of this loop. and then this particular condition will get executed. Okay, let us try to execute this. Okay, enter. Let us say okay, we'll ask okay. We have seen that so what this particular program does, the whole logic we have seen. So let us continue with this. So it is asking how many numbers do you want to be added. I'll say 5. Okay, so enter 5 integers to be added. That's what is this statement. Enter 5 integers to be added. Where did we get that 5 integers? This is the variable where we are storing the number of integers to be added. Okay, enter an int. Okay, I will say 1. Enter an int 2, 3, 4, 5. So as soon as you enter 5 inputs, it comes out of the for loop and prints this statement. That is the sum. Okay, that is your sum. So this particular condition becomes very, very important. Okay, say for example, let's say what to do when if by mistake if we have done like this, is I greater than number of elements to be added. Okay, so let us see this condition, this particular condition. Okay, let us remove all these things so that we can see the whole program in one screen. Okay, so let that be there. Okay, so I come to this statement. Okay, scanner is attached to our keyboard. I have initialized this variable. It says how many numbers do you want to be added. Okay, I say 2. Okay, I will say two numbers. So this is taken from this next thing, and then 2 numbers to be added, that is stored in 2. Okay, so now it says okay, and enter 2 integers. Okay, so now it comes here in this statement. So this is initialized. Integer I is initialized to 0. Now it won't go to this part. It executes this. Okay, is I greater than number of elements to be added. Number of elements to be added is 2 here. Okay, the condition now it says is 0 greater than 2. Is 0 greater than 2? No, condition is false. Okay, as soon as the condition is false, it will come out of this statement and executes this. Okay, let us try to execute that. Okay, let us try to see this. Okay, how many numbers to be added? 100. 100 integers to be added. Enter 100 integers to be added. You are giving the message to the user saying like 100 integers to be added. Enter 100 integers to be added. But immediately it says without accepting any inputs from user, it is just printing the sum to 0. So that is what we have assigned here. Okay, so the condition that we specify here becomes very, very important. Okay, so whenever you get some confusion on these kinds of conditions, right, you always substitute some values. Okay, that will give a clear picture. Okay, so you try to think like, okay, I is initialized to 0 and no, so that means this particular statement set of statements will not get executed. Okay, so give me a second. So this particular the statements that we have mentioned within the for loop block itself will not be entered, and they will not get will not get anything in sum. Okay, so those things will these conditions that you specify in for loop becomes very, very important. Okay, so whenever I am telling something, that I might repeat few things again and again. Okay, there is a purpose behind that, so that it so everyone understands whatever I'm trying to tell. Okay, that is the only purpose behind telling the same thing again and again. Okay, hope you understood all these things, whatever we discussed. Try to what I would suggest is two things. Okay, one is whatever the doubts you have, for till the topics that we have discussed so far, right? Whatever the doubts, be it you might think that that is a silly doubt, you should not ask, but that is not the case. Okay, we are here to help you. Okay, we are here to clear your doubts. Okay, whatever the topics that you we have discussed so far, even if you think that you have some silly doubts, don't hesitate to ask. Okay, that is the only request I have. And another request what I have is practice whatever you try to, or whatever you understand in the class or sessions so far, right? Whatever you understand, try to implement it in a program. Try to implement it in a program. Be it arrays that we discussed, right? Be it arrays. Be it even single first program that we saw, right? Be it declaring an integer. Just declare it and see whether it shows an syntax error or not. If at all it shows syntax error, try to read that syntax error. Okay, and compare. If at all it shows syntax error, compare that with the syntax that we discussed in the class and see what might have gone wrong. Okay, read the error that is shown in Eclipse. Okay, that will improve your knowledge. Okay, that is when you start getting the feel of programming in any programming language for that matter. Okay, you start to feel that is when, like, when you start programming and trying to test each and every concept that you learn, right? That is when you start enjoying the programming. Okay, that is when you start enjoying programming. So I got few input from few participants. Okay, a couple of participants. I was really happy to see those inputs. Okay, they are trying it. So they found some issues and they raised the questions regarding those issues. Okay, so it is like whenever you get some doubts, whenever you try something, right, you'll get the doubts, you'll get so many errors. Don't get I mean, don't be afraid of those errors. Okay, try to read. If you are able to understand those errors, well and good. If you are not able to understand, please shoot an email to us. We have this one, what is that, Intuition intuition.javatraining@gmail.com. Okay, so we have that particular Gmail. You can always shoot an email to that particular ID. Okay, Gmail ID. So we'll always keep watching that email ID, and if at all any questions comes, we'll try to answer that question. Okay, so please try to the only takeaway from this particular session is I want all of you to try, however simple it may be. However simple you think it is, the concept is, try to implement it once. At least once you try to implement it. Okay, you'll see a lot of changes when you start doing those things. You'll see a lot of changes in your programming itself. Okay, so you'll start. Initially, you might face some issues. You might see some errors and all. That is okay. If you understand it, well and good. If you don't understand it, shoot an email to us. We'll try to resolve that issues. Okay, we'll try to explain what exactly is happening in that particular code, and you'll get to know. In that way, what happens if you can't understand the error, from our explanation, you come to know what exactly is the error, what needs to be done for such errors in future. Okay, in other way, you are getting knowledge. Okay, in other way, you are getting knowledge. Okay, so that is the only thing we just want to kind of like achieve with these sessions. Okay, so try to practice more and more. Whatever the concepts you learn in your class, try to implement it in programs. Okay, try to implement it in programs. No need to write complex programs at all. Okay, just with these things, right? With these things, you can achieve so many things. Okay, with this one single method and with class statement, you can achieve so many things. With this scanner, just have this particular thing. Okay, you can by heart it. Even if you want it, you can by heart this particular statement. Okay, by heart it and use and see how to use it. Okay, see how to use it. Next int is there, next float is there, next double is there. Okay, so try all those things. then that's what, when you start understanding a particular subject, right, that is when you start, your interest grows in that particular subject and you start understanding. So when you start understanding that subject, then you start practicing that particular subject. Okay, so be it any subject for that matter. Here we are learning programming, and it becomes very important for us to try to practice as much as possible, because we are trying to learn a programming language, not any other language, right? So in mathematics, how do you learn mathematics well? You have to practice, right? Similar to that one, programming language is also like that only. So you have to practice. Okay. So with that, I'll stop the session. We'll wind up the session. So whatever the doubts you have, please raise or shoot an email to intuition.javatraining@gmail.com. Okay. We will try to answer your questions. Whatever the doubts you have, we'll try to clear or answer your question. Okay. Thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks for attending. And it took 1.5 hours, I guess. So that's fine. I hope whatever we discussed are clear. So thanks a lot. Thank you very much.